You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real as Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered daily digital show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You can make this possible. Steve Perry, I know we have Steve Perry who joins us right now with founder of Capital Preparatory Schools. All right, Steve, these teachers, Chicago teachers, are threatening to go on strike, going back to the classroom. Then you have other school districts as well, New York City, others around the country, where teachers are saying, hey, I'm not trying to go back to the classroom. Your thoughts, is it time to go back into the classroom? What's happening with your schools?
Hell yeah, it's time to go back in the classroom. I mean, we were literally 12 months from the time that we were in the classrooms last. You know, in our schools in Bridgeport, we are hybrid. We're hybrid because we have to be. We don't have enough room to socially distance to bring all the children back at once. And all the parents don't want to come back right now because they've been led to believe that it's unsafe. But it's actually more unsafe in the community than it is in the schools. The spread is taking place in the community at a rate sometimes 10 times greater than what's happening. It's safer for the students and it's safer for the teachers. If we look at the data, as opposed to the fear mongering, what we see is that it's the going over your friends or cousin in them's house. It's going out to a bar. It's going to the gym. It's these places that people are contracting COVID. That's not where they're catching. They're not catching it in the schools. The schools, other than hermetically sealing a child in their bedroom, are the safest place for them. What we recognize is that over 75% of the private schools in the United States of America are open. What we recognize is that colleges and universities are open. And what we also recognize is daycare centers are open. Who's not open? Schools serving Black and Latin kids. You know why? Because we allow people to lead. We allow people to lead into this notion that our kids are somehow dirtier and more likely to spread disease than other people's kids. There are no faculty walking around those private schools in hazmat suits. They have on a mask, they have social distance, they keep their hands clean, and they move forward. Kids get sick like they've always gotten, always. They're always going to have the flu. They're always going to catch something that they can spread. That's just what kids do. And you move on. There are procedures that you put in place for when somebody does get sick to protect them and the rest of the community, and you move on. Our schools in Bridgeport, faculty are the only ones who've been sick. And you know why they got sick? Because they were hanging out. They were hanging out, and one got it, and then we had to remove a whole core of them. That's why we had to cancel school. We didn't have to cancel school because the kids came in, and we've had kids test positive as well. And you just keep moving, and everybody moves on, and then you get back to school. Our children are the ones who are the most underserved, and we have lost at least a year for children who came in 2, 3, 4, 5 years behind in the first place. We got to put kids first, second, and third.
Folks, is Troy there? Okay. All right, thank you. Troy LaRaviere, president of the Chicago Principals and Administrators Association. Troy, why are Chicago teachers pushing to go on strike? Why are they pushing to go on strike as opposed to putting practices in place to go into the classroom?
I think what people have to understand with the situation in Chicago is that there's a huge trust issue between parents, teachers, and principals on one side and the district on another. There's just a historical pattern by our district to not live up to its promises, to do things that question their trustworthiness in the eyes of principals, in the eyes of teachers, in the eyes of parents.
So in this case here, Chicago teachers say they should all get the vaccine first, but the mayor says, no, you shouldn't be skipping other folks who might be in other high-risk groups. Steve Perry says, look, you can actually still return to the classroom if you put in social distancing practices, if you're wearing masks, if you're washing your hands. And this is not just Chicago. There are other school districts around the country where teachers are saying, hey, they want to go back. And so, but the issue that Steve also raises is that, and not just him, we've had other educators who've been on this show who said that we're literally losing critical time for children.
And so what is not being stated there is that everything you just said there is right? It is safe. It can be safe to reopen schools, right? If you do all of those things. What the problem is that we're in a district run by people with a pattern of incompetence who, let me give you an example right now so we can talk about reality. We had a situation in the school, because some of our schools are open right now, right? They're test sites. And so a principal contacted me about a teacher who reported the fact that she had gotten COVID on a Sunday afternoon. She reported it in the district system. Now, what was supposed to happen in that system is that they were supposed to quarantine that classroom immediately. Instead, the classroom showed up on Monday after being exposed to a COVID positive teacher on Friday, and then, of course, they were all exposed to one another, exposing another teacher. And then finally, at 5 o'clock that day, the students
Roland
got an email from the district letting them know that they would be quarantined the following day. And a parent of those...
Roland, please.
Steve, hold on one, Steve. Troy, finish.
A parent of those students contacted the principal asking for some support for remote learning since her kid was going to be quarantined now. And the principal said, how did you, and the parent had gotten an email, and the principal said, can you please forward me that email? Do you know why that principal said forward me that email? Because the district didn't even notify the principal that a pod in her school had been quarantined. And so our mayor said that we're trying to do the Lord's work. This is her quote, the Lord's work, and trying to get these schools reopened. And I think it's an apt metaphor because the district got that message on a Sunday, but apparently nobody was manning the messaging center on Sunday, which is why they allowed these kids to come on Monday.
I got it.
So the Lord doesn't work on Sunday, and apparently the people who do the COVID response in our district don't work on Sunday either.
Okay.
So this is not an issue about is it safe or not. Of course it can be safe.
Steve.
I got an 8th grade
So
son.
then there we go. So let's just end it. So let's end it there. If you know it.
Well, one second. One second. Troy, you finished. Steve, go ahead. Steve, one second. One second, Steve. Okay, Troy, you're done. I'm not going to Steve. Steve, I'll come back to Troy. Steve, go.
Brother, if you know and you've acknowledged multiple times that it can be safe, and you're the principal of the school, you're the person who makes sure that the children are socially distant. You're the person who does the testing when they come in. You're the one who notifies people. You understand that. Stop this, man. You know better. You know better. You know that this has nothing to do with children and learning. It has to do with adult politics. And the reason why Chicago, y'all keep running into a situation because you keep putting adults before children. This is a situation where you know what the data says. The data makes it very clear. The CDC and at least 3 other studies have come back and made it clear. In addition to that, over 75% of the private schools in the United States of America, as well as daycare centers, as well as colleges and universities in your city are in school. So stop this. Stop it now, because you know our children are being harmed. Brother, you know that Black and Latin children in Chicago are being crushed by your very school system. Get them back into school. There is nothing that stops the principal. You don't need the district to make that call, because you know, like I do, when there is a person who tests positive, the health department notifies everyone around that person. They get the information. They make the phone calls. That's not central office's responsibility. That's what happens from the health department all over the United States of America. So what we're not going to do is make up facts. What we're not going to do is change the conversation. This is the bottom line. When you put children first, you know that you use the data. The data is clear. Schools are not super spreaders. You've acknowledged at least 3 times in your comments that schools can be made safe. And if I'm the principal of the school, I stand at the front door of my school and I make sure that I take my temperature gauge and I put it up there and I test the kids and it says they don't have it. And then we also have apps, as you will be the first to know. We have apps that tell us whether or not a child has been infected or a staff member. So, as you acknowledge, this staff member got sick on a Sunday, not on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday, on a Sunday because they were home, not because they were in school. Let's stop this foolishness. Let's acknowledge the truth. I understand you rocking with the union, and you got to keep the union where they are, but I rock with the Black people and the children, and the Black people and the children understand that we need to be in school now.
Troy.
So check your assumptions. You said about 50 different things there that were based on false assumptions. Number one, she didn't get sick on a Sunday. She reported her illness on a Sunday. She got sick the Wednesday before, right? So that's number one. Number two, your assumptions about the health department. Maybe that happens where you are, but in Chicago, our district takes care of that. That's just a fact. And so if I'm the principal, I don't control whether or not, and so let me give you an example. Another thing that happened was a principal reported to, a teacher reported to a principal that she had become ill. She got so ill that she ended up in intensive care. And so the principal reports to the district because the principal wants the contact tracing to happen. She reports this to the district, and the district says there's nothing they can do about it because the teacher has to report it to them herself. The teacher tells them she's in intensive care right now. She can't report it. And so there was no contact tracing. There was no quarantine of the pod because our district and in its insanity and its incompetence would not do the contact tracing because they couldn't get a teacher who was in an ICU bed to pick up the phone and call them. That's the goddamn truth.
Steve.
So that's your best? That's the best you got because you have an anecdote of a person who got sick and had a situation.
All the time in this district.
Right. So let's just stay there. So when a person.
Let me give you some more.
Hold on. Troy, wait.
Brother.
Troy, hold on. Troy, hold on. Troy, I'm going to let you come back. Steve, you can talk. Back to Troy. Steve.
So you've already acknowledged that schools can be made safe. You already acknowledged that
Absolutely.
Okay. So then the methods that you need to make a school safe, you don't need central office for. You don't need someone, assistant superintendent of such and such, to come in your classrooms and tell you to be 6 feet apart. You don't need them to check the mask. You don't need them to make sure the children are going down one side of the hallway and up the other side. You don't need them for that. That happens at the building level. And you know that. And you know that you have the capacity to make them safe. And you also know in your core that Black children are sitting in homes when they're home. It's not like they're chilling at the crib. They're out. They're out and about. They're doing all sorts of things that have nothing to do with education. And I can't even imagine what your truancy rates look like when you don't have children who can even log on. Today, when I was in classes in Harlem, the Bronx, and Bridgeport, because we're all over, Zoom was terrible. It was glitching like crazy today. So I know my kids weren't learning today. I know they weren't, the ones who were doing a hybrid. So who am I to call myself an advocate for children when I know that I have my children in a situation that is not in their best interest? The best interest of the children is to be in schools. I send my sons to my school. I send my niece to my school. I send my children to my school. I go to my schools because I know it's safe enough for my blood and it's safe enough for other people's children.
All right.
You are blinded.
Troy, go ahead.
By your own talking points. You are blinded by your own rage and your own talking points. I just told you the principals in Chicago don't get to decide whether or not to quarantine a classroom. That's a district decision. The principals in Chicago don't get to decide whether contact tracing happens. That's a district decision, and those things are necessary to keep the students in a principal's school safe. But you conveniently acted as if you didn't hear that and began to talk about the things the principal does control. But you need all of those things to happen. Our principals know everything you said, that they can do these things. But again, it's a layered approach, and you need all of those layers in place. And the layers that we control, we got them. At least most of us have those. But the layers that are controlled by our district that we also need to be in order, like whether or not we're going to be properly staffed. That's another one I haven't even gotten to yet. Like, we don't control that. I'm glad you have that kind of independence, brother. I'm glad you open your district. I'm glad your school. I'm glad you don't have to depend on a larger, incompetent administration to take care of things for you. But in Chicago, unfortunately, we do, and they do not have their act together. There's no way around that. Stop trying to ignore it. Stop trying to pretend like you just didn't hear what I said and somehow we can just get around it. You can't get around the fact that you have a district that's incompetent that won't take care of its part of the responsibilities, even when you take care of your responsibility. That's another thing I got to say.
One second. Go.
Hold on.
Wait, Steve, wait. 30 seconds, Troy. Steve, final comment. Then I'm closing the segment. Troy, go.
Principals
wait, Steve. Troy, 30 seconds, then Steve. Go.
Okay, sorry.
In Chicago, principals, unlike teachers, have been in school since March. We were in school after March. We've been handing out, we have been handing out computers and laptops to students. I got members of my association that go to students' homes to help their parents troubleshoot their laptops. So all of this stuff you're talking about, teachers, don't apply to us. No matter what decision that the districts make, we will be in our schools in person tomorrow. And so there's no other motivation on our part to not want this district plan to go through, except the fact that we know and we have experienced their incompetence day in and day out, and they're just not ready.
Steve Perry, final comment.
I don't know what it feels like to try to argue a point that I don't entirely believe in. So I on some level, I have empathy for you, brother, because as you say that you know that you can make schools safe, you at the same time suggest that you need someone else to do so. At the same time as you make the point that you know that the best place for our children is in school, and that you physically, you say yourself, are in school, you have to somehow make the argument by finding anecdotes about situations that occurred that are beyond your control. You know, like I do, that it is your responsibility as a principal to make sure that you keep children socially distant, that they keep their mask on, that you create the situation in the school. That is your.
There you go again. I told you.
They say that you know you hurt somebody when they holler, and you hollering, brother.
Deal with the point, brother.
Brother, they say you know you hurt somebody when they holler, and you hollering. I let you speak, and you speaking over me.
Steve, you got 30 seconds left, and then I got to close this out. Go.
So I have to believe that you know that the best place for our children is in school, period, Absolutely. In the story. And you have to know that we can make the school safe, which you've acknowledged, absolutely there. So if you know the best place for them is in school, and you know that you can make the school safe, you, not the district, you can make the school safe, then what are we really talking about? So that's the whole thing. If you can't, okay. So here's the deal. I would imagine that your schools would return to school when they have the absolute optimum circumstances somewhere in about 4 or 5 years. In the meantime, the rest of the country is going to be taking care of their children. And I don't know how long y'all think that dog's going to hunt, but I'm telling you now, it ain't cool. We have to make sure that we put our children first.
We don't.
All right.
They would disagree.
Troy, Dr. Steve Perry, gentlemen, certainly appreciate it. Thanks a bunch.
Thank you, brother.
All right, folks, back to our Roland Martin Unfiltered video in just one moment.
It's time to be smart. When we control our institutions, we win. This is the most important news show on television of any racial background. Y'all put $2, $3, $4, $5, $10, $15, $20, $30 on this and keep this going. What you've done, Roland, since this crisis came out in full bloom. Anybody watching this, tell your friends. Go back and look at the last 2 weeks, especially of Roland Martin Unfiltered. I mean, hell, go back and look at the last 2 days. You've had sitting United States senators today, Klobuchar and Harris. Whatever you have, you can bring to Roland Martin Unfiltered to support it. Please do, because this information may literally save your life.
Watch Roland Martin Unfiltered daily at 6 p.m. Eastern on YouTube, Facebook, or Periscope, or go to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered Daily Digital Show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing $50 each for the whole year. You can make this possible. RolandMartinUnfiltered.com.